You keep telling yourself you're lazy, that something is wrong with you, that if you were stronger, more disciplined, more motivated, your life would look different by now. But look at how many times you've tried, how many plans you've made, how many nights you went to sleep promising, tomorrow I'll start, and tomorrow came. Exactly the same. The hardest part isn't that you don't know what to do, it's that every time you don't follow through, a quiet doubt grows. Maybe this is just who you are. Someone who starts late. Someone who never quite changes. What if that story's wrong? What if laziness isn't the real problem at all, and pushing yourself harder has been making it worse? In the next few minutes, I'm not going to hype you up or tell you to want it more. I'm going to show you a different way to understand why you're stuck and how to move forward without fake motivation. Because once you see what's actually happening, everything changes. Laziness is not a lack of character, it's a signal. Most of the time, when you avoid something, it's not because you can't do it. It's because starting feels heavier than it looks. The task feels unclear, emotionally loaded, or bigger than your current energy can handle. So your brain does what it's designed to do. It protects you, it delays, it distracts. That's why you can still scroll, think, plan, and worry for hours. Your energy isn't gone. It's just being spent on avoidance instead of movement. This matters because when you label yourself as lazy, you attack the wrong problem. You try to fix yourself instead of fixing the situation. You add pressure instead of clarity. And pressure rarely creates action. It usually creates more resistance. Think about a task you've been putting off. Not the whole thing, just the moment before you start. The uncertainty, the fear of doing it wrong, the quiet thought that once you begin, you'll have to keep going. That feeling is what you're avoiding, not the work itself. When you see laziness as information instead of failure, the question changes. It's no longer, why am I like this? It becomes, what is this task asking from me that I'm not ready to give yet? Motivation is not something you find. It's something that shows up after you begin. Waiting to feel motivated feels logical, but it quietly traps you. You tell yourself you'll start when you have more energy, more clarity, or more confidence. But those feelings don't arrive on their own. They're responses to movement, not prerequisites for it. This matters because every time you wait, you reinforce the same loop. No action leads to guilt. Guilt drains energy. Low energy becomes proof that you can't start yet. And the cycle continues, even though nothing is actually stopping you except the size of the first step. Think about how often motivation suddenly appears mid-task. You didn't feel ready before you started. You felt ready because you started. Even a small action changes your emotional state. Opening the document, standing up, writing one sentence. These aren't productivity tricks. They're signals to your brain that the task is survivable. Instead of asking yourself, do I feel motivated? Try asking, what is the smallest version of this I could begin without needing motivation at all? When the start becomes gentle enough, motivation no longer needs to be forced. It follows naturally. Willpower feels powerful, but it's unreliable. Your environment is what quietly decides most of your behavior. When the easiest option around you is distraction, starting meaningful work will always feel harder than it needs to be. Not because you're weak, but because your brain follows the path with the least resistance. If your phone is within reach, if your workspace is cluttered, if the next step isn't clear, your energy gets drained before you even begin. This matters because trying to push through a badly designed environment turns every task into a fight. You burn energy just deciding what to do, where to start, and how long to stay focused. Eventually, avoidance feels like relief, and you mistake that relief for laziness. Think about how different it feels when the next step is obvious, when the document is already open, when the tools are ready, when distractions are slightly harder to access. You don't need a surge of discipline in those moments. You simply move. Instead of asking how to become more disciplined, ask how to make the right action easier to start. Small changes in friction matter more than big promises to yourself. When your environment supports you, action stops feeling like self-control and starts feeling like the natural next step. Sometimes what looks like laziness is actually self-protection. There's a quiet tension under the surface when you avoid certain tasks, not because they're hard, but because they mean something. Starting might force you to face the possibility of failing, or worse, succeeding and realizing there's no excuse left to hide behind. Avoidance keeps those emotions at a safe distance. This matters because effort isn't always what you're resisting. You're often resisting the identity shift that comes with taking action. Once you begin, you're no longer someone who might. You become someone who is trying, and trying feels vulnerable. Think about the tasks you delay the most. They're usually tied to expectations, self-worth, or long-term direction. The weight isn't in the work itself, it's in what the work represents. So your brain chooses comfort now over discomfort that feels personal. The way forward isn't to shame yourself into action, it's to lower the emotional stakes. You're not proving anything by starting. You're not committing to becoming a different person overnight. You're simply allowing yourself to show up imperfectly without judgment. When action stops being a test of who you are, it becomes something you can approach calmly. And calm is often what finally allows you to move. Discipline doesn't mean forcing yourself to stay perfect. It means learning how to return. You're going to fall off. You're going to miss days. You're going to have moments where you avoid things again. That isn't failure. That's part of the process. The real difference between people who change and people who stay stuck isn't motivation. It's how they respond after they break their own momentum. This matters because shame makes inconsistency feel final. When you tell yourself, I've already messed up, so what's the point? You turn one missed action into a full stop. But discipline isn't about never stopping. It's about not letting the stop define you. Think of discipline as a relationship with yourself. Every time you return without punishment, you build trust. You show yourself that slipping doesn't mean quitting, that starting again doesn't require a dramatic reset or a perfect plan. When you stop demanding intensity and start practicing return, consistency becomes possible. Not because you're tougher, but because you've removed the fear of starting over. And once restarting feels safe, you don't need to rely on motivation to keep going. You're not becoming someone who never feels resistance. You're becoming the kind of person who knows how to move with it. The shift isn't dramatic, it's quiet. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop judging every pause as proof that you're failing. You start trusting that small, imperfect action is enough to keep momentum alive. This is what consistency actually looks like. Not intensity, not pressure, just returning again and again without turning it into a verdict about who you are. So here's the only thing I want you to do after this video ends. Pick one thing you've been avoiding and take the smallest honest step toward it. Not the impressive version, the easy, almost too small one. Then stop. Let that be enough for today. If this way of thinking helped you see yourself differently, stay here. Subscribe, come back, and keep building this version of yourself, one calm return at a time.